I am the country channels manager for Microfocus Software. So I handle the channel ecosystem in the Philippines. Uh, for those of you who don't know Microfocus, we're one of the largest pure play enterprise software companies in the world. So, and because of that, we have almost, well, not almost, more than 300 products available in the market today. Now, among those products is a particular tool that is quite popular right now, and not just in the Philippines, but also worldwide. And this product is called Fortify On Demand. So what do we do? It's very simple. We build secure software fast. And then we do that using Fortify On Demand. So moving forward, what is application or why application security? I would assume that many of you here understand what software development is all about. So software development, just a quick review for those of you na matagal nang wala sa college or even in high school for that matter. Software development is basically a process of creating software. That's it. But for most developers, the main concern is not actually security of software. Ang main concern ng developer is the functionality of software. So for those of you who are degree holders in computer science or IT, for example, and nag-focus kayo on application development, app dev, of course, typically your thesis or your final project or your feasibility study would be how to create an application based on a particular use case. So marami yan. I used to be a panelist for thesis defense sa isang school a long time ago. So for developers, yun yung approach. No? Yung approach is, I'm concerned about making sure that my application works as designed. So yun ang concern lagi ng developer. But there is a catch, and this is the reason why we're talking about it today. Application security. So typically the problem is we or developers for that matter is in the business of creating application. That's it. You have to create applications because that is what you should do. And it's the best way to see it right now is just by looking at your phones. Because if kung siguro kung yaya phone yung cellphone nyo, hindi nyo ako maget. Pero kung smartphone, iPhone or Android phone yan, you would understand what this slide is talking about. The frequency of releases continue to increase. So sa App Store or sa Google Play, when you use your phone, di ba? Every now and then may kita mo yan. May update na naman doon sa application mo sa phone mo. So very common, very very common na laging may updating na nangyayari. Ang nakakatawa dyan, very generic yung rason, di ba? Fixes and updates. Pero wala naman na bago sa app. Why is that? It's very simple. It's about the security of the app. Because no app is perfect. No app can say that it's fully secure. Kasi whenever you put changes in a particular application, you might be opening up some portions of the applications. Diba? So that's very normal. So here you can see 46% of companies release once per week or more. If for those of you who would still remember, if you're running Microsoft, we have what we call the Patch Tuesday. What do you call this scenario na yung patching may schedule, right? So may bagong application for a particular day na gagawin specifically for Microsoft. So right now hindi lang Microsoft because ang dami nang pwedeng gumawa ng app. The mere fact that you'll see thousands upon thousands of applications on Google App, Google Play, and on Apple App Store, kita mo na agad na sobrang dami niyan, right? So kaya magtataka ka kung minsan pag gano'n mo ng phone mo, ang dami mong biniling, let's say Android phone, right? Bakit nauubusan ka ng storage? Kasi download ng app, tapos lumalaki rin yung app. Pero eventually manonotice mo yun. So what happens is you buy your micro SD card to add more storage and all that stuff, right? So the frequency of releases and the reliance on open source libraries increases, especially now. Lahat tayo, right now we're still work from home. Many of us are still work from home, right? So imagine we are so reliant on apps. Can you, kung pwede lang may mag-raise ng hand, sino rito di marunong gumamit ng Grab? Wala, di ba? I mean, it's practically impossible to see someone who hasn't been able to use online services like Grab, or let's say bumili sa Lazada or bumili sa Shopee for that matter. Everybody now is very reliant on that because we're at home. It's not like we can just go to the mall and just do it like do go every day, right? Because we still have to think about protecting ourselves. So those are the cases. Our changes in our lifestyle has also led to increased use of applications. Okay, so companies also continue to adopt the methodology of DevOps. Okay, babalik na naman ako sa history of computing. So, noon kasi, very typical, pag gumawa ka ng application, step by step, no? Step by step. Another term that's being used in development, companies is yung the agile framework na, waterfall approach na you start from something and then you move forward. You must complete the first step before you proceed to the next step and so on and so forth. The problem with that approach is matagal, di ba? Mabagal. So right now, for those of you who still don't understand it, or just to give you a brief summary of it, DevOps means yung development of the application at yung operation, yung paggamit ng application ay synergize, no? Magkasama, magkasabay. As you can see in the drawing here. So let me do a little pointer here. So you build the application, you plan the application, you code, you create the application, you build it, you test it, you release it, deploy it, and use it. So itong point na to, from release to monitor, is the operational side of the application. Pero of course, while you monitor it, you still plan. Kasama dapat lagi yung planning. Ano bang i-upgrade dito? Anong bagong features ang kailangan gawin dito? Pag nag-multi-user, which parts of the application ang pwedeng gamitin ng multiple users? Which part ang dapat sa administrators lang? Things like that. So it's a continuous process. So it's called DevOps. Why? Because of this, you can do more code deployments. It's faster to implement or to commit to deploy applications. And it's also faster to recover from issues coming from the application themselves. Kasi DevOps ang approach. It's a rapid development approach in application development. Now, what's the problem? Napansin nyo? Hindi pa. Anybody? Okay. May pa-premyo naman, sir, mamaya, di ba? So, that's different. Sa game natin mamaya. Okay. But security was left out. As you can see in the original slide, this slide, you don't see anything about security, because developers, the goal is to create functional applications. So for most developers, ang ginagawa nila is wala, problema na ng security team yan. So it's a security team. I have to create the application and then deploy version 1. And then pag sinabi ng security, oh, may butas yung application. Oy, nagme-memory leak. Oy, nag-hang siya pag gaganyan. So say ibabalik nila yung application. And then you create, and then version 2. Diba? Ganun yung approach eh. So ganito yan. So very similar dito. Right? So security is left out. So as far as developers are concerned, I don't care about security. That's the reason why we have a security team, because that's their role. So ganun ang approach lagi. And usually there's a clash among these groups. The reason is security is a specialist discipline. Okay? For those of you who studied coding, okay, it's not typical that it's part of the curriculum to teach you how to do application security. So hindi. Ang importante, marunong ka mag-code. That's it. That's why after you learn, usually after college na, then you go into the security discipline. Diba? That's why some of us or some of the people that you know would eventually go towards app security, network security, device security. So lalayo na sila sa coding, pupunta na sila sa protection ng code o sa protection ng application. So security, secondly, is driven not by functionality, but by compliance. Diba? Especially for those of you who have experience working in multinational companies, it's very important that the application is secure because it's part of compliancy. For those of you who have experienced following standards of, say, for example, Sarbanes-Oxley, or let's say HIPAA, especially those in healthcare, or those Sarbanes-Oxley, or those in what they call this in banking and finance, the standards being set by ISO or standards being set by the central bank, di ba? So kaya merong compliance team or may risk management team, because that's the point, is to make sure that whatever we release out to the market, whatever our customers or a company's customers use coming from the company, the application, she's compliant with particular standards adopted by an industry or by a government. But then yun nga, that is driven by compliance, not by developers. Walang paki developers. Developers say, okay, develop this, security problema nyo na yan, right? So as I said, developers deliver functional code. That's the whole point. The whole point is to bring it to market fast. They find security, and for many of you, you would find that putting security is actually detrimental. Kasi pag nagdagdag ka ng security, babagal yung babagal yung project timeline. Kasi magdadagdag ka ng security. And because of that, the idea and the typical mindset is that security creates too much noise. So as a result, and this is true, and the mere fact that it happens on your phones is that most applications have security issues. Yeah. So from the 2019 application risk security risk report, okay, of Fortify, of our own team, we found out that 79% of web apps have at least one critical or high severity issue. 79% of web applications, right? Kaya nga 'di ba, natatakot tayo kapag let's say pumunta ka sa website ng mga banking what they call this software. Okay, so web-based, kunyari BPI, or let's say so you really have to protect yourself kasi minsan baka mamaya phishing site yun, hindi pala website ni BPI, hindi pala website ni BDO. So yung mga cases like that, very important yon, no? To make sure also that their websites are also secure. Very important yan. 88% of mobile applications have at least one critical or high severity issues. Kaya nga 'di ba maingat tayo sa pagda-download din ng application sa phone natin. Usually tine-check natin, number one, kung ilang stars or yung rating or ilang dami ang download or gaano katagal na siya or kung may mga referrals siya na maganda siyang software. So maingat tayo doon. Every now and then you will receive news about hacks on Android apps, and then magugulat ka na lang, ay, na-download ko pala to. Diba? And then typically what you will do is just delete it or remove it from your account, right? So as you can see, it's much higher on mobile apps. Bakit? Kasi kahit sino pwede na mag-create ng mobile app eh. It's so simple right now to do that, right? And then 61% of applications, regardless of whether it's a web application, a mobile application, or a client-server application, have critical or high vulnerabilities that are not covered by the OWASP top 10 list. Okay, so this is very, very important. And that's the reason why I can tell you that Fortify is one of our top selling products, is because of this particular scenario. The average cost of a data breach. This is a data breach report for the year 2020 is roughly $3.8 million. Now, we don't really see it as such, but this is based on what a faulty app or unsecure app might do to a company, right? So that's basically what an average cost of a data breach will be. So attackers, and if you're still in the mindset that yung computer nyo hinahack, hindi na po. Mas madaling mag-hack ng application ngayon kaysa mag-hack ng computer. Why? Because nagiging standard na meron na tayong mga firewalls and routers, right? So what if the vulnerability is in the application, and then yung application na yon vulnerable, tapos din-download mo sa phone mo? It's actually easier now for hackers to do that because it can now bypass everything else. It can bypass the server, it can bypass the network because the app itself is insecure, right? So application security right now, even in the Philippines, is still not mature because of developer training, right? Hindi siya parte. So lack of developer training is very obvious. And then the growing attack surface. There are so many applications. So many of these applications are connected to the internet. And I tell you frankly, your phones right now, it is standard. Hindi nyo na pinapatay yung data. No? It's common. Even if you look at your children's phones, naka-on na lang yung data. Naka-connect lagi sa Wi-Fi. Para bang napakahirap na hindi ka naka-connect sa Wi-Fi or hindi ka naka-connect sa data. So since you're connected, therefore your applications on your phones, applications on your laptops are also connected to the internet unless you have a very good firewall policy. Okay. Next, accelerating releases reduce the time available for security. So because of the market na kailangan mag-release ng application at saka regularly mabilis ang release ng application, nasa sacrifice ng security. And that is one of the biggest threats as far as application lifecycle, development lifecycle is concerned, is to make sure security is part of the lifecycle. Otherwise, data breaches, unsecure applications happen. Okay? So the difference is this. Bakit napunta na sa app level from infrastructure, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, is this one. The infrastructure security is mature. Remember the time when companies were still buying so much Cisco routers. Ala, bile. Why? Because they need to secure themselves. So typically the network is secure, right? Your PCs, meron ka lang Windows, what do you call this, antivirus, pero meron ka pang separate antivirus pa, right? And for many of us siguro rito, even your phones, merong antivirus, no? May endpoint security protection pa siya. So the investments are already in place for that. So therefore, those who think ill of us, yung gustong kumita out of it, would now focus to the application instead of the infrastructure. Kasi mas madali eh, right? You release an application, pag hindi nalaman na unsecure siya, and millions will download that application, then millions gets compromise. And we hear that and we read that many times. You just watch the news or you just follow particular Twitter feeds, you would see these kinds of reports coming up every now and then. So what are we offering? So we're offering Fortify, and this one is called Fortify on Demand. This is our SaaS product or our software as a service solution. FOD puts the security in DevOps. That's why for us, and this is the discipline that we're trying to bring to the market, is DevSecOps, security within DevOps. So the idea is this. Habang ginagawa yung software, nakikita na natin kung secure o hindi. Diba? So the idea is application security needs to be embedded earlier in the software development lifecycle. So what does it do? O ano yung kailangan natin gawin? You need to integrate security in the lifecycle itself. So the idea is to make application security available. Yeah. Next is to embed application security into the tool itself. Yung tools na ginagamit ng developer, yun din ang ginagamit niya para ma-secure yung coding niya. Okay? Hindi na siya kailangang may naka-install pa na hiwalay, kailangan pumunta pa siya doon para ma-check yung system and everything. You can do it by doing integration. Next, Fortify on Demand can do this also by automation. So we use automation to include security in the lifecycle development of the software. And then we track the security defects. Ang tawag na namin dito is ganito, security while coding. So imagine nagko-code ka, pero kaya niyang sabayan yung pagko-code mo and to tell you, okay, to advise you that your code is not secure habang nagta-type ka. Yeah. So yun yung agility, the ability to provide insight and results fast enough and provide relevant issues with suggested fixes. Now, don't get me wrong here. We do not fix the issue. We provide the suggested fixes. Kasi may human interaction pa rin yan. That's the reason why you have quality control people or quality assurance people. Because we will tell you what's wrong. We will tell you what you need to fix. And you need to choose, usually the managers or the team leader, for example, to choose which ones to follow to make your application more secure. So FOD fits within the software development lifecycle. So from planning, going to production, okay, we are part of it. In other words, FOD can do software code analysis, static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, and runtime application monitoring, security monitoring. So from planning, okay, to production of your software, FOD can protect or help secure your application. So it's a holistic platform. So what we do is we accelerate the application security program. We do offer a lot of toolchain integrations. We also provide the open source analysis. We identify risk. And then because it's SaaS enabled, the DevOps also is the application of DevOps as a methodology is quite easier. And of course, very, very high service level agreements. Okay, so this is the process. When you get Fortify on demand, we onboard you on the same day. So let's say pag binili nyo, you just go to the website. I'll show you later how it's done. So basically the process is very simple. Onboard it, okay? Assess the software, provide the remediation, integrate if you need to use your own tools, and then of course, educate. So next, in December, we'll be running a gaming, what they call this, a gaming session. So that's the thing about Fortify. We do have that, no? So ang ginagawa namin, we'll have a form of hackathon for end users na may mga prizes. Now what we do is we do demos, and so that our end users and potential customers learn how to become what they call this secure developers. So I will provide that particular. So we will be announcing that. So it will be given to our product managers here at VSTECS, and they will be given to you. So I think you're in the email list, so bibigay na lang sa inyo later on, and we will be inviting you to attend that one. Okay. For those of you who are interested to do a hackathon with us, especially developers, okay. So we do static assessment. So ano yung static assessment? So it's a way to analyze static software. So basically your typical traditional client server software. Yan ang static assessment. So we do it by what you call this, using Fortify Static Code Analyzer. So that's part of FOD. Okay, so we find critical security weakness during the development lifecycle. So anong pwede naming support? We support more than 27 coding languages. We can see 810 unique vulnerability categories. We can do 85% of our automated audit scans in less than 1 hour. There's no file or code size restriction. And then we have a very comprehensive IDE plugins. Ano yung IDE plugins? Kung sanay ang developers yung gumamit ng Visual Studio, hindi na nila kailangan lumabas sa Visual Studio. So may plugin kami sa Visual Studio. May plugin din kami sa Eclipse. Okay, and many others. So we can also integrate with multiple build and CI tools. Yeah. And then FOD SaaS, or software composition analysis, is what we do to enforce open source policies for your open source components in the development lifecycle. Okay. And then dynamic assessment is, this is what we do. We simulate attacks by testing running web applications. So kung meron kayong web applications, you can just get FOD, and then we can get assessment units from us. And then what we'll do is we will simulate attacks on your websites, on your web applications. So we have more than 250 unique vulnerability categories. We can test in quality assurance, staging, and production. So of course, test first in QA and staging before production. But sometimes we have customers na what they do is naka-production na, then sabihin sa akin, Jo, kuha kami ng assessment units, test namin in production. Tignan namin kung papasa siya, kung papasa yung website namin. So papasa yung web application namin. So usually ganon. So ang tawag namin dun is single scanning option. Okay? So pwede yun. And then we do have built-in support for scan blackout periods, and we can do virtual patches for all the top web application firewalls, and then external or internal network applications. Okay, so yan yung available. So we do that by we call it dynamic assessments, and there are two types. No, another one is dynamic plus assessments. So what we do is, sa dynamic assessments, it's artificial intelligence, pero kung dynamic plus assessments, may kasamang manual testing using our team. Ang kinaganda doon is, hindi mo na kailangan mag-hire ng security tester. Kami na yon. Okay, kami nang gagawa nun. This one is also quite famous right now. They buy FOD assessment units to test mobile apps. So this is one of the best use cases that we have right now. As I said, you just look at your phones. I will tell you, many of those apps are actually using Fortify on Demand to test those apps. Okay, not all, but many of those are using FOD as their security testing for those mobile applications. So why Fortify on Demand mobile assessment? We support iOS and Android applications. It is designed for mobile application developers. And then it has fully automated options for less than 5-minute scans. Kasi nga maliliit lang naman ng mobile apps eh, right? And then we can do the manual testing performed on the device itself. Okay, so if you're a mobile tester or a mobile app developer, you can look at FOD as a way to do mobile security assessments. And similarly, we do provide mobile plus assessments, which includes manual testing of binary and network and services. Yan. Now, the Fortify portfolio, pinakita ko lang sa inyo yung tinatawag naming FOD or as a service. So it's called FOD. Okay, but we also provide on-prem. So for those customers who would like to have it on-prem, we do provide, we call it static code analyzer and web inspect for static and dynamic. Okay, but these are available as a service. Okay, so in other words, you don't have to invest in server hardware anymore. Okay, so bawas yung requirement nyo for CapEx. Kasi pwede mo na i-apply yung OpEx dito. Kasi if you're a developer and you create applications on the fly, so you can simply create the project cost based on your project timeline at dun lang bibili ka ng subscription ng Fortify, for example. So it's actually easier to budget it na may kasama ng security without, investing in security personnel. Okay. So FOD also assists in vulnerability remediation. So we have workflows to fix vulnerabilities and manage a successful application security program for your environment. So we do have that. And this is how it would look like. I'll show you later how it would look like. Are there questions? I think there are already questions coming in. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sir Sid and Sir Mariano Pascual. Okay, so I'll answer you later. Okay, I'll answer you later. Don't worry. Okay. Let's move forward. I don't want to go through each file, but it's something that you will be able to see. Ito yung kinukwento ko kanina. We have in our training, we have this product called Secure Code Warrior. So Secure Code Warrior is our way of, it's our hackathon type of gamification and education namin for using Fortify. So there are two things, no? For our developers, for security testing, these are the two options that we offer to help developers establish a security discipline. Number one, the product is called Security Assistant. So this is real-time identification in the IDE for Eclipse and Visual Studio. So if you have developers using Visual Studio with Security Assistant, nandun na sila sa loob ng Visual Studio, pero actually Fortify is already protecting and creating the the suggestions for security while you're coding. I'll show you this, the example dito. For example, this screen. I hope you can see it. Medyo hindi niyo mababasa, but this is the case. Pag naka-highlight, ibig sabihin na naka-highlight, nakita ni Fortify na yung naka-highlight na code is considered insecure or not safe. Okay? And because it's not safe, i-explain niya kung ano yon. So, hinighlight niya muna. This is the idea is you have a coder actually coding right now. Ayan. So, nagko-code siya. Ang ginagamit niya Visual Studio, for example. So, pag nakita ni Fortify itong particular line of code na to, ayan, kita niya may doble, right? Alam niya na yan ay cross-site scripting. So, kung ako developer, wala akong kaalam-alam kung ano yun, Fortify will simply tell me, hey, this is cross-site scripting. So it will explain what cross-site scripting is to the developer. And then at that time, there's a detailed summary, and then there's a recommendation on how to fix it. Yeah. And this is live. This is live. If you're running Visual Studio, this is live na ginagamit. Okay. So FOD educates developers using Security Assistant. The other one is developer focus and integrated cybersecurity training using Secure Code Warrior. So ito is part of our solution set. It's an add-on if you want your developers to to have or to create a DevSecOps methodology or discipline in themselves, especially if you have teams of developers. This is very good also. Okay, so these are the assessment types that we have. So it's a consumption-based model. So para ka lang bumili ng prepaid, di ba? So kunyari, bumili kang prepaid, kunyari, bumili ka ng card, prepaid card. Tapos, di ba ngayon, pag bumili kang prepaid, may 2 years pa bago yan mag-expire or hindi na nag-expire. Pero sa amin, may expiration, of course. So let's say 1 year. When you buy it for 1 year, it will expire in 1 year, but you need to use it within 1 year. So we call it assessments. So we call web, mobile, and thick client applications, we call it static assessments. Okay. For dynamic web assessments, that is for website and web services. For mobile assessments, this is for mobile applications. So these are the service levels, and then these are the consumption models. So typically we offer assessment units, single scan. Pag sinabi kasi single scan, once na nabili mo, nagamit mo, tapos na. Or subscription. Pag subscription, it's an unlimited annual scan. So typically for companies in the Philippines, they buy subscriptions. For small shops, they buy single scans. Okay, and then for some setups, they also buy via assessment units. So kapag subscription, unlimited annual scans per application. So we count it by application. So one application, one scan. So if you have, kunyari, you're maintaining one app, and you release, like for example, every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, ang understanding, meron ka ring security testing every 2 weeks. So ang suggestion ko doon is to buy subscription instead of buying single scan. But if you are just, like for example, right now, mag-election na. So if a particular candidate would come up with his own app, syempre gagamitin lang niya yan during the election, for example. So pwedeng single scan ang yung bilhin in order to test that particular application for a particular candidate or a particular political party. Sample lang yan. Okay, so how do you redeem it? So as I told you, we do it via assessment units. So if it's static assessment, usually it's just one assessment unit. But if it's a subscription, kasi nga annual unlimited siya, so instead of buying one, you buy 4 assessment units per application, and so on and so forth. If you're interested here, you just contact any of the si Thel or si Jason, I don't know, nandiyan si Jason and sila Gime of VSTECS, and we will and they will alongside me help you craft the required assessment units for your requirements. So why Fortify on demand? The benefit, it's fast. It's really fast. You save by finding and fixing vulnerabilities. Okay, and then it's easily scalable. Kasi you start small, and then once you learn to use it, that's the only time you buy. Kasi mas madali. Kasi nga, as I told you earlier, OPEX lang gagamitin nyo. So from the customer's perspective, and this is typically, and this based also on the local Philippine market, it's ease of use. You can launch the application security on day 1. So the moment you buy it, the moment na nandiyan na, you access the website, Fortify on demand, load it, you can use it already. So you don't have to wait for servers. Hindi ka na bibili ng infrastructure for that. You don't need the network, you don't need the hardware servers or even the security staff. Hindi mo na rin muna kailangan. Second, deployment flexibility. The application is being monitored for security from beginning to end. And that's something that many developers don't see. Okay? And typically, dun yun nagsisisihan. Ipo-point sa security, and then security, insecure application nyo, balik nyo, ayusin nyo yan. And then so on, no? Para sila nagbumoro-moro. Yan. And then quality of results. So the rule packs that we provide are regularly updated with the latest vulnerability scan results. And then these are audited and the false positives removed. So it's very common that it comes out, no? Na tawag dito, every now and then, of course, there will be changes. So very regular ang aming pag-update ng rule packs. And then customers are staying with us for FOD because of, number 1, security expertise and support. And I take pride in saying that we have our FOD Security Center for Asia Pacific and Japan based here in the Philippines. So mga Pilipino po ang ang mga experts natin. So when you buy, ang kausap nyo Pinoy pagdating sa support. Kasi the security expertise and support is local in the Philippines. And that's the biggest differentiator namin over our competitors. Kasi sila, kausap mo, nasa ibang bansa. Dito, Pinoy kausap mo. Ayan. And it's 24/7 support when you buy FOD. Default yun We don't do 8/5. By default, it's 24/7 support. And then we deliver on results. You can see the results immediately. And then we grow with your business. So we start small, and most of our customers, they start small, and then syempre bumibilis yung ano nila, no, yung software development life cycle nila. So mas nakakabenta sila. So nakaka-create sila ng mas maraming application. So lumalaki yung business sila because they don't have to invest on security too much as far as security testing of their applications are concerned. And I already said this, so I will not go through this. So let me show you some of our resources, okay? This is the case. So these are our data centers worldwide. So hindi na to updated because we've just opened up our FOD data center in Singapore, specifically for the Southeast Asia market. So makita nyo nag-grow kami. Yan. So right now, so dito, Mike, yung next slide ko siguro, dito pala. Dito. Dito lalabas yung Singapore. Yan. So Southeast Asia ang i-cover niya. So that's how that's the growth that is happening for our Fortify on Demand product. So imagine very specific for the Southeast Asia region. If there's a number I need to meet na kapag nangyari yon, we can put up the data center in the Philippines as well. So demo videos in YouTube, we have a channel. So you please do subscribe to Fortify Unplug. So if you need to understand how Fortify works, you just go to our Fortify Unplugged YouTube channel. Yeah. And then we have a very strong Fortify online community. These are users worldwide that actually connects with our internal technical team in order to find solutions and answers to your technical questions as well. So meron din kaming online community. And then just to show you our credentials in the industry, how accurate are our scans? 100%. Fortify SEA true positive rate based on the OWASP benchmark. And then what we can provide, and these are based on our research, is 95% reduction in false positives as far as in finding out security issues in your application. So depth of coverage, we support more than 27 programming languages. We can detect more than 1,000 vulnerability categories, and we can support over 1 million APIs. Yeah. So doon pa lang yung strength namin as far as APIs is concerned. It's something you should look at. Okay, so these are some of our success stories. This is one of my favorite, Coca-Cola. As a loyal Coca-Cola drinker, this is what they're doing for their own internal systems. So they have decided to standardize their application security testing on Fortify on Demand. So for their web apps, for their mobile apps, and whatever applications they are doing in Coca-Cola FEMSA, then they're using Fortify on Demand for that. And then this one is Doctors on Demand, also using Fortify on Demand. This is a worldwide thing for their telehealth software. Ito yung software sa phone na kunyari gusto mo magpa-check up, sa doktor. So yung kanilang app, yun yung ginagamit nila to protect that app. Saltworks Security is for, ito naman is software protection for their software using Fortify on Demand. And then Tieto, this one is a company that actually does this one for application security testing. So yan yung kanilang naging basis, nag-standardize sila on Fortify on Demand. Okay, Equifax, another company that does Fortify on Demand as well. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Do I have enough time, Sir Mao, or sumobra na
Go
ako?
ahead. Go ahead. You are our last speaker.
Okay.
So please go ahead. We have 5 questions. Obviously, you made your present product, quite interesting. So we have received a number of questions from our attendees. Please tackle the first one submitted by Sir Sid. But I believe After the Q&A, you guys, we will have some quiz, right? So you will be giving away um, 500 Grab voucher, and we have 10 questions. Whoever is the first
Yeah.
person to send us the correct answer gets the prize. So go
Sir
ahead.
Mau,
Let's start with
yeah.
your questions.
Wait, Sir Mau, I still have a short demonstration lang of how it looks like.
Okay,
Okay lang?
sure.
Sure lang.
Okay.
Okay, sorry Mau. It's quite short. So for those of you who are using the or would like to see how it looks like, so I'm gonna show you how the application would look like. Okay, let me okay, I hope you can see it. Confirmed?
Yep.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
let me show you. So, I'm going to show you screenshots, no? Sunod-sunod na kasi para mabilis. Kasi kapag ginamit ko pa online, baka umabot siyam-siyam. So, this is the website itself of Fortify. So, it's called APAC. So, ibig sabihin Asia Pacific Fortify.com service data center. So, it's a cloud-based service. You simply log in. Once you log in, it will show you a dashboard. And the good thing about this dashboard is it will tell me as a developer which of my applications are high risk, outstanding issues. How many are critical? How many are high? How many are low? And how many are medium as far as the issues are concerned? So you can also see the policy compliance or yung security plan ninyo, okay, to see whether it's within your range. So you can see how if you've met your security policy, you see how many applications have failed, how many still needs to be assessed. So that's the dashboard. Okay, you can set the region, and then you can see what are the typical issues. These are the reports, no? Let's say for example, ito very classic to, password management, hard coded password. As a former coder, siyempre pinakamadali hard code mo na lang yung password dun sa ano, no? Sa code, pero usually ang tawag dun is it's a security issue to do hard coded passwords inside what they call this inside applications themselves. Yan. So here is how it would look like. So this is the application. Let's start kung paano to ginagawa. So just to show you, you just click on new application here. Okay, and then just name it, create the actual scanning information. Pipili ka kung web or client or mobile client, and then choose whether it's under development, UA test, or production. And then choose kung saang region. Now in the Philippines, just choose APJ, that's it. And then of course, interface type and all that stuff. Madali na lang yan. And then you can also have the option of setting up your team kung sino ang a-access doon sa security report nung application na itetest. So once you created it, save it, right? So now, the next step is to do the scan. So what do? You select whether you do static scan or dynamic scan, depending on the application, right? So if you choose it, lalabas dito yung ilan yung binili ninyo na assessment units. So you can purchase, or you can see your entitlements, how many static assessments you have, kasi sa subscription, makikita nyo kung anong date, kung kailan mag-end. Pagka mga single scan, makikita mo rin kung ilan. Yan. So you just choose your static scan, and then choose the technology stack. Ito yung sinasabi ko, anong programming language? So imagine we can support even COBOL. So .NET, typically Philippines, .NET, Java, tawag dito, PHP, Python. I still encounter a lot of VB6 as well. There's some on Ruby Rails, and then of course some others, no? And then of course very important, ano yung language level. And then kung may kasamang open source component analysis. From there, you just upload the source code, the bytecode, or the binary file in zip format. Okay. Once you upload, it will start now, upload payload. Pag upload niyan, mag-i-start na yung scanning. So once the scanning has started, you just have to wait a few minutes to a few hours in order to see the report. Now, pag tinanong sa akin, sir, paano kung millions of code? Of course, the higher number of code, the longer it will take. Ganun lang kasimple. Okay. Now, let me show you what it looks like if you're running Eclipse. Imagine if this is Visual Studio. So, if you have Eclipse or Visual Studio, meron na siyang plug-in. So, as you can see here, magkakaroon ng plug-in ng Fortify. So, while I'm creating software inside this one, okay, you simply have to what you call this, upload using your credentials. So syempre bibigyan kayo ng credentials, no? Pagka may Fortify kayo. And then you just have to choose the application. Ito yon kanina. Yung isang pinakita ko is kapag manual na i-upload mo yung what you call this, yung code. Pero ito kapag gumamit ka ng tawag dito ng programming software, kasama na siya, naka-plug in siya. Yan. So dito mo gagawin. Yung kaninang web-based sa software mo na gagawin. Once you've done that, so if I'm doing anything here, I can choose which what you call this tawag dito, methods to upload the code. Depende kung anong ginagamit kong programming software. Okay. So this is an example. So if I'm doing programming now, the plugin will enable developers to interact with Fortify on demand directly, real time, from their IDE or for what do you call this, for Eclipse or for Visual Studio. So ito yon. So mag-highlight and then sasabihin yung recommendation and then nandito yung warnings, okay? And then that's when you change. So ito naman, pagka post-build actions, dito lalabas ngayon kung ano yung gusto nyong gawin nung integration. Ano yung klaseng report na gusto nyong makuha. Ayan. So these are examples of how it will look like. Now, when it is run, lalabas ngayon yung report within the portal itself. So ganun lang siya kasimple. Hindi mo kailangang mag-aral just to run it immediately. Okay? So ibig sabihin, magagamit mo na agad yung application security tool namin.